Welcome, everybody, to another episode Win Government Contract, the podcast powered by the Gov Association here. My name is Abraham, and I am your host, and we've got a lot of awesome things to talk about. Today, we're going to be talking about teaming agreements and how to use it to generate more revenue for your business. That's right. Teaming is an essential part of the government contracting industry. 70% of government projects require two or more companies to work together. If you don't understand teaming, why that's important, then this podcast here is absolutely critical for you and your business. So I want to welcome all of you for joining me. This is a live podcast, and it's also being recast on our different channels as well. So if you're joining me live, welcome. If you could put in your company name into the chat and where you're joining us from, it gives me a little reference of who's here with us and which part of the world you're joining us from. So that would be awesome. So today, just a quick recap, we're going to be talking about teaming agreements and how to leverage that to help you to generate more revenue for your business. So let me go ahead and dive in. Some of you are joining us, some of you are repeat visitors and part of our audience here. You've been here over and over, and a few of you might be new joining us. Welcome to the Win Government Contract Podcast. I do have a few quick announcements to make before we go into this here. Next week is a holiday, so we will not be back here. But the following week, let me double check, make sure that we are, yes, next week is a holiday, so we will not be here for next week. But the following week, we will be back, and we are tweaking our show here. We're going to do it as Grants and Contracts, the podcast. So we're going to change a few quick things and we're going to start covering grants as well. So our new podcast will be Grants and Contracts versus just Win Government Contract, the podcast itself. So in 2 weeks, we'll be right back here, but we're going to be talking about grants and contract, and I have a new co-host that's going to be joining us. So some exciting things. And so join us in 2 weeks. We're going to be talking about that. There are grants and contracts, lots of good things that we're talking about here, but we're including grants in the new restructuring of how we do a podcast here. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to be talking about, I'm going to start by talking about examples of companies that are working together and the revenue that they're generating. So I'm going to start off with that. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to look at some examples of companies that are working in a teaming capacity and winning contracts in that regard there. So I'm sharing my screen. We'll look at some examples first, and then we're going to go and break down the teaming model, but we're going to break down the teaming agreements itself. And then I have some bonus for all of you who's joining us. I will give you the teaming example, the teaming agreement examples, so that you can actually use it for your own business. Now, just a quick disclaimer, I'm not an attorney. I'm not rendering legal advice. I'm sharing all of this here for informational purposes only. But at the same time, or not but these are examples of agreements that have been used by many companies that we have worked with in the past. So feel free to get your attorney to review it if you want to, or let your attorney create their own agreements for you, however you want to use it, but not rendering legal advice, giving you informational purposes here. So I'm going to go ahead and dive in and share my screen here. And we're going to look at examples of companies that are teaming together to go after contracts and their success. So this first company here is called Enamis, and this is a company that have had the opportunity to work with them. So Enamis is a HR company, and they do NDT, non-destructive testing, which is a type of engineering work where they go in and they evaluate to see if the components or the products that's being created meets the standard and that it could withstand the level of destruction that it was designed for. So, for example, if it's a airplane or if it's some type of metal brackets that was created to do certain things, they would do the testing to make sure that it meets the standard of what it's created for. But Inamis is a women-owned business, but they're not 8A certified. So Inamis started building a relationship with a agency, and the agency said, "We want to work with you. By the way, there's a project that's can be a good fit for you." But Inamis is not 8A certified company. So Inamis, said, "Abe, do you know 8A company?" I introduced them to this company called Idro Services. Now, Idro Services is an IT company. They specialize in IT. They're not necessarily a specialist in NDT. So we have to train Idro Services on NDT. If you come to their website, we added NDT services to their website to where they actually speak about this here. And so that when a contracting officer or agency comes to their website, they can say, "Oh yeah, this company does do NDT." Connected the two companies, they teamed together, they went after a project. We took a step further beyond that to where they actually formed a joint venture as well for additional opportunities. But these two companies came together and they won a $4.5 million sole source contract. Two companies teaming together, working in a collaborative manner, receiving a $4.5 million contract. So this is an example of two companies working together. Let's look at another example of two other companies. So this company is called ELG. And so Environmental Litigation Group. ELG is a law firm. They specialize in environmental litigation work and so forth. So it's very unique industry in terms of the legal field. But they wanted to expand into the staffing, the IT. So a law firm is expanding their capabilities into information technology. So we repackaged the company, rebranded the company. ELG Law Gov is their company that specializes in technology and staffing and other areas outside of environmental litigation itself. Now, the original company, this is ELG Law Gov, which is the government arm. Now you have ELG Law itself. ELG Law is the company that specifically is just doing legal work itself. So you got ELG Gov and you got ELG, the litigation company. But so ELG Law Gov, they started building relationship with some agencies and so forth. And the agency said, "We have some work that is for gunsmith." Now, what does a environmental law firm know about gunsmith, right? This is where relationship is really important. When you start to build relationship, build trust with different agencies, they will come to you because of trust, not because they know that if you are a staffing company, you can staff, whether it's IT, whether it is gunsmith, whether it's paralegals, you can staff all these different type of niche industries. So the relationship said, "We are looking for some gunsmith with the U.S. Marshal Office." ELG Law says, "We don't have." They're interested in sole sourcing this here. We're not an 8A company. What do we need to do? So we introduced them to this other company, which is called the Simple View. They're an 8A company. They specialize in staffing solutions and so forth. But their greatest strength is IT. But they specialize in HR and staffing solutions and so forth. So the two companies came together. They worked with the agency, and they were so source a $3 million contract. So relationships and teaming, 70% of projects require two or more companies to work together. So these are two examples. Let's talk about some other examples from a broader perspective. So I'm going to pull up this document here, and this is a list of, let me pull this up here. So this is the list of all of the companies that won the Oasis contract. If you look at this here, you will see that, it's kind of broad. You will see that these companies here, they worked they worked together to form a joint venture. They worked together to form a mentor protege. So you can see that multiple company, all these contracts winners on Oasis Plus, they form companies, or they came together to work in a collaborative manner. So teaming is just a type of partnership, and there's different types of partnerships in the government market. But today we're going to focus specifically around teaming. You don't want to start off with a mentor protege, because that's a very strong relationship, and it takes time to build trust for a large company to work with your small business. We don't want to start off with a joint venture, because that is a strong relationship that binds you in a new corporation. Today, I'm going to focus on the better way to how you work with other companies, which is through teaming. Teaming is where two or more companies come together. One company chooses to be the prime, and the other company chooses to be the sub. And you can flip that relationship however you want. In one project, you might be the prime. In another project, you might be the sub. So that's teaming. Teaming just means it's on a project-to-project basis. And if it works out great, you go after more projects. After a few projects and you really like each other, then you form a joint venture. A joint venture is a more strategic way, but today we're going to focus on teaming. So we're going to look at why you need a teaming partnership. So I'm going to, one is, and this is an example, right? This is an example where these companies form a joint venture to go after projects, because the tools and the resources of multiple companies coming together makes sense for them to work together. So I'm going to pull up my document here. We're going to talk about why you need teaming to start off with. And one is it's because opportunities are out there, and you need it. But let's talk about the reasons, right? Why? Let me zoom in so that we can talk about this here. So why do you need? So the first reason is to go after larger projects. It might be where your two or three small businesses come together, you can go after larger projects. So you need teaming because you can go after bigger size project. But maybe even more important than that is past performances, right? You might have limited past performances. And so when you team together, the past performance from two different companies or three companies can come together to meet the requirement of 3 past performance within 3 years. Most projects that are sizable will require 3 past performance and within 3 years. That's almost all projects, service project requires that. Not if you're dealing with products, they normally don't ask for past performance. But if you're dealing with larger product opportunities, they will require past performance as well, especially multi-year, 3, 5 years, and so forth. So you team because you have limited past performance and you need somebody else to qualify for a project. So these are the two main reasons why you team, because it allows you to go after bigger projects and it allows you to have past performance where you don't have past performance. Now, there's many other reasons, but today, because we're focusing on the teaming agreement itself, not necessarily the strategy, but the team agreements and why that's important, we're going to break that down. So we're going to talk about a teaming agreement. And so I'm going to pull up the first type of teaming agreements. I'm going to share with you a few terminology. So the first one is a general teaming agreement. So that's the first one. And then we're going to talk about, in the government market, we call it CTA, which is a contractor teaming agreement. Different people use different terminology, but I'm introducing you to different verbiage in this industry here. And then there's also another one called specific teaming agreement. Most people just call it a teaming agreement, whether it is a CTA or whether it's a STA. Most people just call it teaming agreement. But you start off with a general teaming agreement. So this is the first one we're going to break down, a general teaming agreement. And for those of you joining us here, I'm putting my show producer is going to put the link to the general teaming agreement in the chat area so that you can actually look at that specifically. So let me go into the specific team agreement. And so the one advantage of being a part of GCA is over the last 15 years, I've aggregated a lot of resources. So if you say, hey, Abe, you know what? As a member, I'm stuck. What do I do with this? Or do you have something to help me overcome the situation? There's probably a way to help you with that there. So first thing is a general teaming agreement. So I'm going to break down this example here. My show producer is going to put the agreement template in the chat area so you guys can use that for your own purposes. When you go on there, don't ask for permission to join our Dropbox. Just on the top right, just click the download button. You don't need permission. Just click the download button so that you can actually get your own copy of it and you can change it however you need. So we're going to break this down here. Now, again, for those of you joining us late, today we're going to talk about teaming agreements and the different components of it and why, by using it, how it can help you generate more revenue for your business. Let me first distinguish the difference between the general teaming agreement and a specific teaming agreement. One, the general teaming agreement brings 2 or 3 companies together for the purposes of pursuing contracts at the business development level. The specific teaming agreement, or the CTA, the contractor teaming agreement, is for the purpose of submitting the proposal. When you find an opportunity and you're ready to submit a proposal, then you sign a specific teaming agreement. And you'll see the difference between the general teaming agreement and a specific teaming agreement in a little bit. But let's start with the general teaming agreement. So when you use this here at the very beginning here, it says this agreement made on this date. So you put the date in here, put your company name, your address, and then your teaming partner's name and address here. The parties intend to team together to pursue potential contracting opportunities with government agencies and commercial customers. So this is the first recital, that these companies are coming together to pursue opportunities. It's not a specific opportunity, just saying we're going to work together to go after projects. So that's why we call it a general team agreement. And then the next recital, whereas the parties understand that this team agreement is not exclusive. This is a very important factor. Just when you set up a general teaming agreement with a company, it doesn't mean that you're locked in and you can't team with other companies. It's not exclusive. And so it allows you to work with other parties, but brings 2 or 3 companies to work closely together through this agreement here. And that each party reserves the right to pursue its own contracts without the other party. So it's not exclusive. You can do exclusive, but you probably don't want to do exclusive because it limits you, and it limits your teaming partner, especially if you are a smaller company and a not very strong yet, and you're working with a stronger company and you're trying to make it exclusive to them, they're not going to do it. So don't do exclusive unless there's a specific reasons of why it's mutually beneficial. This agreement is designed to be mutually beneficial for both parties or the parties if it's more than two. It's not lopsided where it's heavy-handed on one side or the other. I don't like agreements where an attorney would write it so heavily lopsided that it favors one company and the other company have virtually no rights. Don't like it. I don't structure agreements in that way with companies. When I'm reviewing, when the attorney gives me their agreement, I say, hey, go back to your attorney. This is not going to work because it's too heavy-handed. It will hurt you. Or if it's too heavy-handed where it favors one company, and I would say, hey, this favors you and it's not fair to your teaming partner, and they may do work with you for one time, but they will not do work with you again because it's too heavy-handed for your. You always want to look for ways where it's fair for both parties so that you can succeed together, not necessarily just one time. So agreements, it needs to be fair, or it's going to be a short relationship you have with somebody. All right, let's continue here. Whereas the parties here too, because of their diverse capabilities, have determined that they would mutually, the word mutually is important, right? Mutually benefit from a teaming agreement between their respective organizations so that a superior management and technical proposal can be developed to meet the customer's requirements. And whereas this team agreement has been entered into so that the parties hereto may enjoy the benefits of the other's capabilities and be able to exploit those capabilities to complement, enhance, and expand the existing capabilities within the respective parties. So it's saying my teaming partner has certain values, certain capabilities. My companies have certain capabilities, and we're choosing to come together to enter into this team agreement to be mutually beneficial for both of us. Next bullet point here. Whereas the parties shall define the contractor prime and subcontractor roles at a future date upon determining a project worthy to pursue, and either party may become the prime or subcontractor depending on the best approach. So it spells out that this is not a specific team agreement. This general team agreement brings our two companies to work together, and at a future date, we will decide who's going to be the prime and who's going to be the sub. This type of agreement gives you lots of flexibility. Now, in the specific team agreement, it defines who is the prime and who is the sub. In the general team agreement, it just says, hey, we don't know who's going to be, but we're going to decide at a future time when we find an opportunity. And then it further says, a future specific team agreement shall be made upon identification of a project mutually agreed by both parties. Each party grants permission to the other party to create a teaming capability statement representing the capabilities of both parties. So we're granting permission that, and we're agreeing that we're going to create a joint capability statement. Is not a joint capability statement takes the strength of both companies and combines it into one. Very different from your own company's capability statement. In fact, I'll pause here and I'm going to show you an example of a joint capability statement so that you guys can see what that looks like. And then if you put in your company name and where you're joining us from, I'm going to give you a copy of this joint teaming capability statement here. So let's see. Okay, teaming capability. Oh, that's a brief. Let me. Capability overview template. Teaming. Okay, here it is. So this is an example, and then and let's break this down a little bit here. So when you enter into a general teaming agreement with another company, uh, you want to change this to UEI because I haven't updated this template here. So you want to put your UEI here. Now there's two versions of this here. The person that's going to be doing the marketing, this document, they can put their UEI here, or you can actually put two UEI in here. You can put both companies' UEI in here if that's how you want to do it. But the verbiage is here. So Mercy Supply and Quick Health has teamed together to present a rapid deployment solution for government agencies in response to the coronavirus disease. Our collaboration will provide a comprehensive capability to help with patient services and medical equipment. So this is two companies are coming together, and one is actually Mercy Supply is actually registered in SAM. Quick Health is not registered in SAM. That's why we only show one UEI over here. But if both companies are registered in SAM, then you can put both UEI over here. With over 19,000 care professionals, we can support government agencies with healthcare systems with the qualified manpower to do in-home patient visits, collect tests, kits, perform remote patient monitoring, provide follow-up services to ensure more manageable quarantine of the virus and prevention of community spread. And then here you put the services, you bring both companies' services in here. Past performance, you use both companies' past performance in here. And then differentiator, you list what sets you apart. What's your USP, unique selling proposition? You combine it together here. So when you team with another company, the strengths of both companies are combined to give you the greatest chance of winning an opportunity. And then you combine your NAICS code. You combine your NAICS code here. And then you combine your certifications. And if you have a GSA contract, you can put it here as well. So this is an example. I'm going to actually close this, but I'm going to put the link to this example in the chat just for you as a bonus for you guys joining us here. You guys like the bonuses that we give out on our podcast? We do this here, typically almost every week, and you guys get a lot of bonuses for joining us. So you guys like the bonuses? If you do, put it in the chat. And then if you have questions along the way, you can type it in there. My show producer will let me know that you have questions. All right, so let's come back to our agreement here. So I share with you
you have a question in the chat.
Okay. All right.
If a company has the track, do you see it?
I see it now.
Okay.
If a company has the track record of projects within 3 years, but for state and local agencies, would that suffice for federal, or does it need to be federal? So CHX JDBX. That's a very interesting handle you got there. Yeah. So your state or local past performance can be used for past performance in the federal market. In fact, your commercial past performance can be used for past performance in the federal market. And in addition, if you are a subcontractor to another company, that past performance can be used as well in the government market. Today, we're not breaking down what is past performance and how to set all that up. So from a high level, the answer is yes. Now, the flip side of that usually is not true. The federal government gives a very broad definition of past performance because they want more small businesses to do federal work. Now, when you're dealing with state or local, they are generally very specific. So I've seen more often, now sometimes you can use federal for state as well, but often when you're reading through the what they call the reference part of it, it will say you can only use references with other cities for this city opportunity. So you just have to follow their instructions. But from a general perspective at the federal level, most of the time you can use any type of past performance as long as you can validate that and you have a point of contact and so forth for federal opportunities. Thanks to Congress and thanks to the SBA regulations permitting this here. So the answer is yes, you can do that there. Let's continue here. But follow the past performance requirement because they will tell you if you can do it or not. But from a general sense, the answer is yes at the federal level. The parties grant permission for use of each other's logos and brand for the purpose of marketing to government agencies or large primes, provided that such marketing is for mutual benefit of both parties and that such efforts does not violate any laws. So what we're saying here is that you allow your teaming partner to use your logo on the capability statement and on their website so that you can go after contracts together. So that's really what this is saying here. And you want that, right? You want that so that you can, have other people marketing for you. If you don't permit that, they can't market for you, right? So when you have a teaming partner, it's like having another sales team helping you. You can do it yourself, but if you have 3 teaming partners, that's 3 more sales team helping you win government contracts. So that's how I see teaming partnerships. Next item. The parties shall define their mutual rights and obligations prior to submission of a proposal and any subsequent contract or consulting agreements resulting therefrom, consist with applicable federal, state, and international laws governing restraining it. So what this is saying is that you will define who's going to do what when you find opportunities and you're ready to submit a proposal. And then the rest of the stuff, that you're going to do your best to market. The scope of work shall be determined prior to proposal submission. In general, now this is important here. In general, it is agreed that the party that is the prime shall perform 51% of the work or as permitted by regulation. Now, there are some, like in construction, right? The prime is not required to do 51% of the work. The construction company that's 8A or STVSB or women-owned generally have to do 51% of the work if it's set aside. If it's not set aside, it could be any amount. But if it's set aside, construction can be lower than 51%. So it just depends on the regulations. But in this here, it's stating that we, in principle, agree that whoever is the prime is going to do 51% of the work and the sub is going to do 49% of the work. There's additional layers of how to structure that, but that's reserved for another time, another day. Each party shall exert its best efforts to produce a proposal that will result in the selection of the parties being awarded a contract. The parties to this agreement are considered teaming partners and shall act as independent contractors, and neither shall act as an agent or a partner of the other for any purpose whatsoever outside what is agreed here. Go to some other stuff here. So the key components is what we talked about earlier. Now, costs, it's saying here that any all cost, expense, liability, or liability to either party cause or arising out of the marketing efforts and preparation for the proposal shall be borne by each party. Saying that you're not pooling money, although you can do that. You can pool money to do marketing together if you choose to do that. But generally, as a general statement, you're saying that each party is responsible for their own costs, unless you make an exemption. And then you want to set this up. Typically, 12 months is good for a general team agreement. You can do it for longer if you want to. And then change a few different things here. So this is an example of a general teaming agreement. Many companies I've worked with have used this or very similar to this here. Again, I'm not an attorney, so I'm not saying use it as it is, or should you use it? Use it, at your own, understanding the risks that comes with it. But any questions about the general team agreement? And then we're going to shift into the specific team agreement, and you'll start to see the difference there. All right, so Maria says, when you are in a team agreement, can you have subcontractors for that project? And what percentage of the work can they do? Okay. So the question is, if you have a teaming partner, can you have additional subcontractors too? The answer is yes. You can have as many subcontractors as you want, although I don't recommend having 4, 5, 6, 10, right? But if the project is big enough, if you're going after a $8 million project, then yeah, you can have hundreds of subcontractors, right? If you choose to. But the less subcontractor you use, the less chaos. Because if you're using another company, they bring in additional headaches that you have to manage. The more people you manage, the more headaches you're going to have, right? We're in the people business here. So minimize the number of parties where possible. Now, if you need 3 companies so that you can meet all the requirements of the past performance or of the statement of work, then yes, you use as many as you need to. Okay, let's go into a specific team agreement.
Maria has a follow-up question.
No, the 51% has to do with the flow of who captures the revenue from the government. So so if you capture 51% of the revenue and you have additional sub, and you're using your revenue to pay out more people, or to pay out employees, or to pay out vendors, to pay out other people, that's fine. But your company have to capture 51% of the revenue. Your cost can be anything, right? Your cost could be for office space. Your cost could be for employees, office manager, insurance. How you spend that 51% revenue is up to you.
You have one last question before starting with the specific agreement.
Okay, so Angela says, is it NDA or team agreement or both that the government has limited the use of recently? NDAs, the government cannot limit what type of agreements. They cannot legislate what type of agreement you use between 2 businesses working together. So, and then the team agreement, you do not submit the team agreement to the government in your proposal. So keep that in mind. This is an agreement between 2 parties, And only when the government asks for the team agreement do you submit it with your proposal. But 99% of the time, your team agreement, you just need to disclose to the government that you and another company have entered into a teaming agreement, and you do not submit the team agreement with your proposal. So only if they ask. Again, don't make it normal where you submit it. They won't. It just creates more confusion for the government. If they understand that in the government market, companies work together all the time, and teaming is a normal thing to a contracting officer. So it's not new. It's new for you in terms of teaming, but to the government, it's normal. It's every day. Companies work together all the time. So let's look at this example here. So this is version 2. There's a different version 2. We'll look at that in a quick second here. Teaming agreement of intent to subcontract. So you're saying company ABC and then company DEF is a teaming partner. So the agreement date, company ABC, and then the teaming partner is this company here. And then as you come in here, whereas you want to do this here, right? You want to give it a name. The DEF team team. Sometimes you just call it the DEF team. Whatever name you use, you can choose that name. For simplicity, what I normally do is I take the main company, the prime, and I just call it the ABC team. So in this situation, ABC team is the appropriate name for the teaming partners here. But because this is a specific team agreement, we have to disclose the solicitation number because it's very specific. And then and then also the title of the opportunity here. And then if you come down here, the purpose is this company intends to submit a prime contractor proposal with this company as a teaming partner, specifically identified as a subcontractor to perform on the above described program. And so it goes into very specific that this is the nature of the relationship. And then subcontractors should support ASC directly in proposal preparation after contract award in the following areas as required, provided by these areas are reflected in any resultant contract awarded to ASC and except as may be affected by the government approval, pertinent past performance citation information, pertinent technical proposal information, oral presentation if needed, right? And other proposal preparation as mutually agreed to. So it's just kind of say, okay, the other parties, the teaming partner is going to help us in the preparation of the proposal and the packaging and so forth. The subcontract and purchase order negotiation. If ASC is awarded the contract and after good faith negotiation between ASC and subcontractor, a mutually acceptable work statement, terms, conditions, and prices, and subject to approval of the government to the extent permitted by government rules, regulation, applicable law, ASC shall issue a subcontract. Now, let me highlight this word here. This is a very important word. There's been a lot of legal cases with the word may and the word shall, right? May issue means ASC can choose not to subcontract the work to the other company. The word shall issue means ASC shall subcontract the work to the subcontractor. That's why when you submit a proposal and you say that these two companies are teaming partners, the government understands that They're evaluating the proposal and then eventually the award to this team here because of the strengths of both companies. Because of the word shall, they understand that we're when we choose this team here, both parties will support the efforts on this work. That's why they're choosing that team. Now, if you do not need the past performance, if you do not need the skills of another company, then you do not need a teaming agreement. If you can win it on your own merits, on your own capability, your own past performance, you do not need a teaming partner. You just bid on it, you win, and then you just subcontract work out. Let me make sure that's clear. If you do not need the strengths and capabilities of another company to win the opportunity, you do not need a teaming agreement. A teaming agreement is usually when you need the strengths of multiple companies, two or more, to win the opportunity. Usually past performance, right? Or sometimes you might need the government might ask for a key personnel, and you don't want to go hire somebody just to bid on a proposal. So you use a teaming partner and you use their person's resume, so that you can qualify with the key personnel component. Because some project requires that you have a resume of one of the, maybe a project manager or a program manager or a key engineer that's going to be part of the project. And so in that situation, by teaming, you have the strengths of both companies. And if you don't need it, then you don't have to do a teaming. But I would say that on larger size project, 70% of the opportunities require two or more companies to work together. So go into the government market knowing that you have to put on your best personality, equip yourself so that you can build trust, know, like, and trust, build relationships. And sometimes, I'm in some Zoom meetings, or I'm in some Google Meet meetings, and people don't turn on the camera. You're meeting with a potential teaming partner and you don't turn on your camera. That's bad. You're meeting with a contracting officer, you don't turn on your camera. That's bad. You're meeting with a potential subcontractor and you're in your pajamas. You say, "Oh, I'm not camera ready." That's bad, right? Always be every meeting you take, be camera ready. Be in front. Make sure your camera works and all these different things. So it's just builds trust, right? So shall, very important word. Very important. And then you go in here and you start to talk about the roles, who's going to do what. Um, and then for everything else, feel free to glance through past performance. You can talk about, you do say here that past performance rating may be an evaluation criteria for the government's award selection under this solicitation. If past performance is evaluation criteria, subcontractor will need to provide past performance information as part of the proposal submission. So you're letting your subcontractor say, "I need your past performance so that we can qualify to bid on this project here." Let's let's go down and look at the conflicts of interest, past performance disclosure, description of subcontractor services. So now you actually come in here where you actually start to spell out the prime's role and the subcontractor's role. And it could be anything, right? Because this is a sample. So you can come in here and you can change this here as you need to change. Any questions about this specific team agreement? All right, let's look at another example. I'm going to look at the CTA. So this is called the Contractor Team Agreement. And again, it doesn't matter what you use. In fact, this one is not in the on the notes. So my producer doesn't have this here. I'm going to put it in the chat for you guys. Now, a CTA is generally used by more larger companies. Most small businesses don't use CTA, but large companies, they use the CTA part. You can see, why larger companies use it, right? It's a lot more robust, and it goes into a lot of legalese and so forth. And now, if you and that's why larger companies use this type of contractor teaming agreement here, because it's more specific. And usually this is for larger project, 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, $100 million projects. And for smaller project, you know, keep it simple as much as you can. The contractor team agreement, effective this day here, by these company here. Whereas ABC is a small business that provides this type of services, whereas ITAC is a small business that provides this other type of services in accordance with a proposal to the National Institute of Health. So you change this here, right? You change these things here to the project. The solicitation number, you change that to your situation. ABC and ITAC Solutions desire to enter into a CTA agreement to successfully provide such services to the government, whereas ABC ITAC determined that a CTA will complement each party's unique capabilities and desire to enter into a CTA to have sufficient capacity to provide the services required in this solicitation and form a team called ITAC ABC team. Usually you want to bring part of the one company's name and part of the other company's name together. That's one way of how you do it. Or you can just go with the primes. You can just call it the if ABC is the prime, you just call it the ABC team. And then you define right here, right? ABC will serve as a team lead and is hereafter referred as a team lead, and ITAC hereafter referred to as a team member, and all together are collectively referred to as team members. ABC is both a team lead and team member. So it goes into more layer and more specific around this here, and actually reference the FAR, because the FAR allows you to do teaming agreements. So this is not something that Abe is so smart, Abe created. This is something that other people are way smarter, and they created teaming agreement, and is codified as part of regulations for doing government contracting work itself. Let me see if there's other. Here you define who are the specific point of contacts here. And then you start to define who's going to do what, right? The team lead shall have the overall responsibility for preparing, submitting the proposal. The ITAC ABC agreed to perform in their area of technical expertise as outlined in the following. Provide ARC Select licenses, provide remote setup and training for ARC Select, provide ARC Select, and these are very specific to the statement of work itself. So all this here is unique to your situation. Change it accordingly to that there. Now the price cost, this is actually important because the other pricing, the other agreement, we didn't dive into the pricing. So here we actually dive into more of the pricing itself here. The following table summarizes the obligations of all contract line item numbers, CLINs, for the respective team member for the base period and all option period. So the base period is 9 months, and they tell you that CLIN number 1, CLIN number 2, CLIN number 3, this is for this license, this is for this license, this is for the setup and training, and this is the rate, and this is how much each of this is going to cost. Now, as you start to look at this here, right, you start to say, okay, we need a technical architect, level 1, level 2, a project manager, level 3, and you spell in here, right, ABC, company ABC will provide this here. This program manager will be provided by ITAC. and you start to distinguish who's going to do which role. But the role here, typically, again, if it's a set aside for a small certified business, the certified company that is acting as the prime or the team lead will have to do 51% of the work. But you take this labor category, right? This here is 25,000, this here is 9,000, this here is 12,000, and you add up all of the ITACs, you add up all of the ABCs to the different partners here, and make sure that the main prime is going to do 51% of the work. And then it goes into option period, year 2, year 3, and so forth and so forth. The team, by unanimous agreement, shall obtain government approval for a replacement team member or team lead prior to replacing any team members or team leads. Here's the beautiful thing about this here. If you are on a team and the team lead can't just get rid of you. And again, remember we said earlier that the award is based upon the strength of both companies. That's why the government chose this teaming partnership. And so you have to do it based upon, you can't just get rid of somebody. Let's see if there's other areas to address. Yep. And then just points of contact. Any question about this CTA? Okay. So let's look at a subcontractor teaming agreement. Now, subcontractor team agreement is different from a teaming agreement itself. A subcontractor agreement means that your company, you're able to win a contract by yourself, by your own merits, and then you subcontract work to a subcontractor. And in this situation, you'll see that it's a little bit different. It's just a contractor service agreement. And this company is the prime, and they are going to, the prime has been awarded a contract with the agency to supply, these type of services, IT services, and then the contractor shall render, they're going to subcontract work to a contractor, and they shall render the services in Schedule A. So let's go to Schedule A. Okay, I didn't put Schedule A example here. So you can spell out, Schedule A can be however you spell out the work that you're going to give to that person. So this is where you need a subcontractor, but you don't need them to be on the team to win the contract. So this is that example there. So let me, did I put, I'm gonna put this here in the chat so that you guys can have this as an example. All right, so let's take time to answer any questions regarding teaming agreements. Any questions regarding teaming agreements?
We did not have questions in the chat.
Let me say one other thing. I'm going to give you guys a bonus here. This is, you do need to have, any company you work with, you do need to have an NDA. And so we're going to wrap it up and talk about a quick NDA here. Now, I'm going to put in the chat for all of you guys. The NDA is, there's different versions of it. I like the mutual NDA. The mutual NDA means that it's mutual. If I'm asking you this, you're also going to expect the same from me. Again, I've seen non-disclosure agreement where it's very heavy-handed, right? Their attorney drafted NDA and it's like, we have all the rights and you have no rights. Don't do that. It's bad for business, for long-term relationship. And you might do business one time, but you might not do business again. So you always want to use mutual non-disclosure, meaning that if I'm giving this to you, if I'm expecting you to follow these rules, the same rules, I'm going to follow the same rules here. So this is a mutual non-disclosure. Now, this is specifically around teaming and government contracting. You want to use mutual. Now, if you are if you're subcontracting work to somebody, you want to be heavy-handed because you got to protect your IP, you got to protect your rights and so forth. But if you're working mutually together to succeed together, then you want an NDA that is mutually same expectation for both parties. And it just says, that you're coming together. There's going to be confidential information that's going to be shared, proprietary information that's going to be shared, and then you can adjust some of these confidential information. You can define it in more specific detail as you need to. But this is a good example of a mutual agreement, NDA. But this is really what we're talking about here, right? ABC and the other company wish to exchange the information for the sole purpose of collaborating as teaming partner to pursue contracting opportunities. So you spell out here that this is why we're doing this NDA, because we want to go pursue opportunities together in the government marketplace. And then it goes into all this here. And so you can tweak, adjust as you need to. Ownership of confidential information, because you will be disclosing, right? Pricing information to each other. You will be disclosing technical proposals with each other. You're going to be disclosing management, approach with each other. And then there's other things that maybe software that you're going to license to each other, or you're going to share certain documents, certain information together. So that's why you have this here. Now, if a company, right, asks you to sign a teaming agreement, asks you to sign a non-disclosure, that means they want to trust you. Don't get angry because someone said, hey, Mary Jane, can you, I need you to sign this, non-disclosure agreement. Don't get upset. We call it government contracts. The operative word is contracts, right? Everything in this industry is contract driven. So when someone asks you to sign an NDA, that doesn't mean they don't trust you. That means they want to trust you and they want to work with you. And so if you ask somebody, it's just normal. Don't make it a big deal that, oh, don't you trust me? We've known each other for 20 years, and don't you trust me? Isn't a handshake good enough? Don't get caught up in that kind of stuff. It's called government contracts. All right. So with that, we're going to wrap it up here. In 2 weeks, we're going to do grants and contracts. We're adjusting our every week podcast here. Instead of when government contract, we're going to change our podcast to grants and contracts. And I have a new co-host. I'm going to reveal it to her to you in 2 weeks. So come back 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, same channel. And we're going to be talking about grants and contract. We got a lot of cool stuff to share with you. If you're watching this on replay, please like and subscribe. If you are joining us live, please share. I mean, please share, this link here with other people so they can come and join us as well. We give a lot of cool bonuses. So, share, we want to share the wealth to all of you. All right, so I'm going to see if there's any final questions. We're going to answer some final questions, and then we're going to wrap it up here.
So there are a few final questions. One was, if the other party does not finish the contract, how do you approach subbing out the subcontractors? And then the last question.
Okay,
have-
let me address the first question first.
Okay.
You're in a teaming partnership with another company, and the other company bails out on you. You cannot bail out on anybody. You're in a teaming agreement. You are legally obligated to perform. Let me say that you can be sued and you will lose your shirt even if you disagree with your teaming partner, even if you don't like them, even if they do something that you said, you know what, I don't like that. You are legally obligated to complete the work. So that's the first part of the answer. You cannot abandon your teaming partner unless they agree to let you out of the partnership. So once you are awarded a contract, keep this in mind, right? The contracting officer awarded the contract based on the merits of both companies. So you cannot abandon, you cannot leave. That's why we call it a teaming relationship. You cannot leave that teaming relationship, abandon your teaming partner, or someone abandon you. Should that happen, then should it gets to the point where you are not able to work with that company, then you want to meet with them. You say, hey, this is not working out. Can we find a way where we bring in somebody else? Now, most of the time, if you bring in a different teaming partner, the two current partners have to agree to release one. And then usually the government will have to approve the other company to come in. And the government's not just going to approve it. Oh, we don't like each other and the teaming partners leaving. The government's not going to go for that. The government's going to say, okay, interesting. That's all they're going to say. They're not going to give you legal advice. They're not going to tell you what to do, but they're just going to say, that's interesting. That's it. Meaning that you can't do it. You can't leave. So before you bail out on anybody or before you get into a team agreement, make sure that you are committed to the fulfillment of that project. And if you aren't, do not become hostile. If it's not working out, don't become hostile. Talk it through and say, hey, you know what? This is not working out. Can we find another solution? Can we bail out of this area? Or can we find another company to fulfill our space? That's the only way teaming agreement works. You cannot leave a project. All right, what's the next question?
All right. Have you or someone partnered with a company in the past that wasn't pulling their weight? If so, how did you handle that? And then do you look for subs first or the opportunity?
Okay, so yes, I've seen many nightmares, right? I told you, I've been doing and government contracting, helping businesses, coaching, guiding them, helping companies, 15,000 companies. I've seen plenty of nightmare stories. Let me just share you a quick story here. $3.1 million contract. One company goes in and wins a contract for $3.1 million to do security guard. And the other company that actually had the capability to perform, this is with the U.S. Coast Guard down in Miami, Florida. The other company that has the ability to perform were the sub, were the teaming partner acting more as a sub, because one company is an 8A, one company is not an 8A. The subcontractor knows very little about government contracting, but they're a great security guard company. The 8A company put together teaming, they won the contract. Along the way, the subcontractor wasn't happy, and the subcontractor said, I'm leaving this teaming partnership. In fact, they did worse. They actually emailed the contracting without telling the prime, because they don't have government contracting experience, so they don't know. So they actually emailed the contracting officer and they said, this relationship is not working out and we're going to not support this work anymore. The contracting officer forwards that email because they didn't tell the prime. The contracting officer forwards the email to the prime and said, I received this here from your teaming partner, and I just want to let you know. The contracting officer never emailed back the the teaming partner or the sub say that, yeah, you can leave, because it's not the contract officer's problem, right? If you have issue, you're supposed to resolve it professionally within each other, with the two teaming partners. So the contract officer just said, interesting. Here is the email I received from your teaming partner. That was it. They came to me and they said, hey, or the prime came to me. The prime said, hey, my teaming partner is bailing out on this project here. And I said, oh, don't worry about it, because they can't bail out. You just need to email them back and say, hey, the regulations of this opportunity mandates that we both successfully complete this here. Let's meet together. Let's talk about why you're not happy, and let's fix it. And so once the teaming partner realized that they can't bail out, they actually came back to the table, talked through all the pain points, all the problems that they were having, and they were able to finish out the project. So that's one situation that actually worked out, where both parties came back and decided to work together. Here's another story. One company is 8A, another company is 8A, but one is a graduate 8A company. They both came and won a $5 million contract with GSA. The SBA made a mistake. The new 8A company is supposed to be the prime, and the old 8A company is supposed to be the sub. The SBA made a mistake and awarded the contract to the graduating 8A company. And the graduating 8A company in this teaming relationship just said, shh, don't tell our teaming partner that we won the contract. They try to steal the contract, even though they're in a teaming relationship, because it was misawarded to them. It was the SBA's fault. Misawarded to them. They didn't tell their teaming partner that they won the contract. They were just gonna like, okay, we won. We're not gonna tell them. We're just gonna start doing work and bye-bye, new 8A company. Well, one of their employees didn't know, right? Because one of the employees just understood that this is a project for both companies. So one of the employees reached out to the other company and said, hey, I just want to say congratulations, we received the award. And so the new 8A company said, what? What 8A award? Said, yeah, the one we bid on. And then the other company said, interesting. So they went to the SBA. I mean, it got elevated almost to national SBA headquarters. And national SBA headquarters said, that's a local SBA problem. You guys resolve it. And they didn't want to get involved because this is grounds for protest. This is grounds for suing the SBA, because the SBA, everything was set up right. The SBA made the mistake. So the national didn't want to lose face. So they sent it back to the local chapter. And the SBA said, we can't change it because it's been awarded already, because the SBA doesn't want to look bad too. GSA got involved. GSA said, we can't change it because it's been awarded. So so we can just cancel the award. The SBA said, well, they didn't want to get ugly. They didn't want to look bad in this here. So here's how this is the recommendation I gave to the 8A company that I was helping out. I said, you have every right to sue the SBA, GSA, and the contracting, the 8A graduating company, but you don't have any money. To even file a protest to sue anyone, you need probably at least $30,000 before an attorney will even meet with you to talk about a protest. So you have to put up a retainer, 10, 15, the bill is going to be 30,000 or more, but you probably have to put up a retainer of 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 before they even take on the case. So I said, you can sue them and you'll win, or you work with the SBA to find another solution. So they met with the SBA, and the SBA said, the best we can do is, we can't guarantee you any contracts, but we can make our best effort to get you the same amount of contract award amount, if not more. So if the SBA gives their word, it is just goodwill, right? That's all that is. It's not agreement. It's just like, we will make it every effort to help you to get $5 million or more in contracts. So we took that as what the SBA said, because we didn't have money to sue the SBA. The SBA didn't want to get sued. GSA didn't want to get sued. The other company, they're in hot waters. They lost every integrity, every character of who they are. They lost that credibility with the SBA, with GSA. So short of that, GSA never put any money into the contract that the 8A company, the graduate 8A company stole. It was supposed to be $5 million, but they got zero money out of it because GSA doesn't want to work with a company that would cheat other people like that. The SBA ended up working with the 8A company, the new 8A company, and they're doing about $10-12 million a year right now. So it worked out in their favor by not suing the SBA. So, but that's the story. I'll take there was one last question. So yes, sometimes you will find company that will not pull their weight. Do you look for subs first or opportunities? I look for opportunities first. And the way I do that is this here. When I find a opportunity, I take the opportunity and I reach out to another potential subcontractor. I say, hey, we've been tracking this project and it's a little bit larger than what we're used to. And would you be interested on teaming with us on this project here? So that's usually how I work with find other subcontractors to work with. Very simple email, not long, not complex. We've been tracking this opportunity and we're interested in teaming with your company. Do you have 20 minutes to meet with us? Very simple email like that. And most of the time, people say, yeah, I want to get some more content, especially companies that don't have a lot of experience in the government market. Because you're investing time with me, right? You're investing time in learning how to speak Governese. You're reaching out to somebody who don't speak Governese. They're gonna say, oh yeah, I do want, I've been trying to get in the government market. I just don't know how. And that'd be a great opportunity to work together. So with that, we are at a wrap here. Thank you so much for joining me. Signing off here, Abraham with the Win Government Contract Podcast. And in 2 weeks, we're going to be known as the Grants and Contracts Podcast, powered by the Gov Association here. Remember, you are one contract away from your goals, one contract away from the dreams that you have, the next car that you want, the home, the mansion that you want, the boat that you want, the new employee that you need, one contract away. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you in a future episode. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.